Hey everybody, so another video, this time focusing on the Tactician class in War Robots Frontiers. So Tacticians are force multipliers for other teammates. So basically the way the Tactician has to operate is you pretty much always want to be with a teammate and have them holding a firing line, like separating you from the enemy's forces. You always want to try to keep somebody on your team between you and the enemies, because the tacticians tend to specialize in attrition, so as well as like certain disable abilities in their torsos. So the slower the game is, like the more the enemy's turtling, the more that the everyone's sort of afraid to make a push, the more the tacticians tend to shine. And you'll notice that in all of the weapon types that they tend to run. I do have a flanker's weapon on this build, but I'll get to that later. But like these archetypes here are kind of like the quintessential tactician weapon payloads. And the Alpha Titan also kind of functions this way too. It's not so good in close and can be killed if the enemy's able to get the gap closed and have enough time to finish you off before teammates can respond. But okay, let's break down the tactician's various components and how they are different from the rest. So in terms of shoulders, they tend to have very good shield strength relative to everything else except for flankers, so they're not quite as powerful as flankers. So here we're looking at like a level 12 Typhoon versus level 11 Scorpion, for example. Their shield regeneration rate is comparable. However, the really notable aspect of the tacticians is the high shield cooldown reduction, meaning you get your shields starting to regenerate if you don't take hits faster than flankers. So it's kind of like a hybrid between assaults and flankers. This means that you're really good at, again, if the pace of the fight is going slow and you have cover and you're at long range, you're really good at like harassing opponents. Go behind cover, get your shield back, and then hit them before their shield regeneration starts, and you can start chipping away at their armor while you keep getting your shield back. So this is going to explain a lot about how the legs work as well with tacticians. So I'm going to jump into those next. So let's take a look at, I think the Orochi one is quite a great example, as is the Harpy here. So they tend to have pretty fast max speed, a little bit slower than flankers again. However, the really noticeable aspect of tactician legs tends to be their fuel and acceleration. And that's because they're designed to be able to weave in and out of cover and take advantage of the tactician's shoulders ability to start regenerating. If you don't take a hit consecutively, you don't need to wait quite as long as you would with other shoulders. Keep in mind that flankers usually will be able to catch up to you. I think the Orochi leg is pretty significant in its max speed. The Harpy is the quintessential one. I think that you see a lot, lots of fuel. Again, their armor is quite low on all tactician parts, but these ones get pretty fast. They also tend to have really good energy and reasonable weight, although, again, it's weird that the flanker legs have some of the highest energies at 45, but still, tacticians keep up a lot. They're just going to be more centered around acceleration and fuel capacity than the flanker legs at the expense of speed. Another notable one would be the Anasi, I guess. So this one is really good because you can more efficiently use your fuel to peak. These legs are some of the best for just like weaving out of cover and then shooting, then going back behind cover, precisely because they don't really have to worry about acceleration, and they also have a higher max speed than is listed there, in effect, because the fuel doesn't consume in charges in the same way. You actually can like use it sparingly and just barely bleed it out in order to squeeze out a lot of acceleration and movement into different directions than other legs give you the option to. So again, yeah, that's kind of how tactician legs are going to operate across the board. Okay, let's take a look at all the tactician torsos. So all of these, again, are going to be abilities that work better the more teammates you have near you, and that's going to be typical, like in most MOBA games, that's going to be things like snares that hold people still but allow them to attack, stuns, anything that, like in an AoE, like heals, anything that supports your teammates, ability to draw out, or basically the ability to help your team out in long drawn out fights. So here we have a snare, snap freeze. This one is probably one of the highest tier ones and particularly good for end of or like late game tactician play, because it really helps your team concentrate fire onto titans in one module, like especially matriarchs and whatnot. So really holds them still. The damage is nice, but really the main thing about this is going to be duration. Something else you're going to know about a lot of the abilities is that a lot of them have cooldowns, and so one pilot perk that is particularly valuable is Synergist on tacticians, because again, you're looking to get assists anyways, and rather than worrying about getting the kill every time, and so you're really farming up the ability to get assists on the board, which is going to rapidly draw your cooldowns down. And so this is one I think you should almost always pair with Synergist, because tacticians really do want to be in the fight more frequently than these cooldowns allow. So looking for pilot perks to assist with that is going to be huge. Next we have Disarm. So this one's basically the opposite of a snare. It turns off their weapons, but it allows them movement, and it can target multiple people at once, which I would say is the most useful aspect of this. It also has a reload penalty, meaning that it's very good the longer the reload is on the opponent's weapon type. So things like Scourges, lighters, incinerators, all those things are absolutely punished by hitting them with the Typhon disarm ability. Scrolling down here, even though Ceres is a defender, it does have a very supporting ability, which is heals. I won't mention it here, though. Camouflage web I mentioned in my artillery. I'm just looking for any ones that I'm not going to discuss here directly. Tier, I should mention, the heal is not very powerful, but it is usable at range, so it's particularly good on snipers. Let's see what else we have here. Harpy, I didn't have on any of my builds, so I'll discuss it now. Basically, it's just a DPS harass that delays shield regeneration more efficiently. Again, going in line with the tactician's ability to play the shield regeneration game. So if they get hit by this, you go behind cover and you can start regenerating your shields. They're not going to get their shields for a long time. Plus, it basically guarantees armor damage. So it's commonly used on snipers and artillery, just because if you hit them, you can then fire off the napalm because their shields are down, and that's going to go direct to armor damage. And Orochi I didn't use, but this one's pretty much, I think the radius is just too small now, but it could be good with Parasite Protocol. The only problem is tacticians don't tend to get the kill very often, but I would say this is usually paired with missiles and artillery in order to get lines on people, or line of sight on people that are behind cover. Okay, so first I'm going to look at artillery. Artillery is kind of tricky because it tends to be very difficult to make useful on certain game mode types that involve a lot of running around, like team deathmatch, like very fast-paced game modes, as the artillery requires the enemy to be holding still in one place. But here's an artillery build I came up with. I'll show the pilot perks here. So weapon reload to get the Norcoms reloading, more damage obviously. I tend to be in the back line, so having more access to fuel is quite useful, but these perks could be swapped out depending on what you think your weapon payload will be. We also get some slow heal. Now, another thing about tacticians that's true pretty much across the board is that because they have low armor pools, they tend to really reward perks that heal burst heal rather than percentage. So, for example, 4,000 for 2 seconds means 8,000 heal. You'll often look at your tactician's shoulders and notice that it tends to be like something like a 20% heal in burst. And so, yeah, you'll often want to try to take advantage of those perks that you can activate for a burst heal under certain conditions, like using support gear, especially. That one's particularly notable. Anyway, so with this build, I use the Anasi torso to create an invisible web where the enemy can't target me, so that I have free reign to keep dropping Norcoms. You also have the option to use the web for your teammates, and you sit further back and then allow them to have a more advantageous position. You always need to be considering whether or not your abilities are better used on your teammates versus yourself, and though that does come with some risk to you. I did have to run a flanker leg in order to make the energy supply work on here, which I thought was kind of funny that the flankers have the highest energy options, but it's the only way I could get 4 Norcoms. You could drop these one Norcom and get infinite ammo to create the ability to do like a huge amount of damage occasionally, but you might have to do some tinkering with the pilot perk, like for example getting charge loop in order to get the infinite ammo charged up quicker. So that basically covers the artillery build. You sit in the mid line usually as mid to long, as the effective range is 750. The one big issue that you'll run into is cover, and so artillery is really good at preventing enemies from going behind cover, as you can just target the cover and the splash will get them. That's why it's often paired with missiles. So that is another option. You could look at making this into a missile artillery build as a hybrid. So with artillery, you just need to keep a close eye on your map and be watching for flankers trying to rotate around. Other than that, your main job is area denial and punishing people that have taken damage and prevent them from getting their shield back behind cover for your team. You sort of flush them out. You can do a lot of damage if you have various disables being sponsored by people on your team. So like if somebody, here I spot a flanker, by the way, trying to come around to hunt me down. So I'm just marking him for the team, keeping an eye out for where my next area to move to is, so that it becomes too risky for him to jump in on me.
Can heal you.
But yeah, people have like snap freeze or snare from the Grim, anything that holds people still. Landing 2 consecutive artillery salvos when you're running 4 Noricums is a massive amount of damage. So yeah, you work really well with other tacticians. You work really well with flankers that have slows like fuel burn and whatnot. Getting a hang of how much to lead them by is something that you learn with practice. But I did find that it wasn't too hard to set that up with fuel burn, for example. Here I'm just calling out the flanker that was hunting me down. This is kind of later in the match, but I was really annoying them, so I knew that they were going to be sending a flanker and kind of let the team know, hey, I'm going to pull this guy over towards you, so just keep an eye out.
They're going to beat us by doing nothing. That's their strategy. Good luck, guys. See if they did it. But they didn't take the point. You had to bomb them in their own area. I'm fine. I'm targeting.
They're just too afraid to push.
I don't know why they're so afraid. They didn't kill them.
There's a straggler.
They even had this because this map has good covers.
Eyes peeled.
They're all to the left when they're because we killed them all. Spawn. Yeah, I got infinite ammo right now. Whenever I see the opportunity. But I'm in Halo, so you know I'm gonna push a fucking crowd from mid-range.
Can anyone help them?
Next probe located.
We have heals.
I got heals.
This Magneto guy's getting annoying. He thinks he's some kind of superstar. Right?
Wolf probe active.
Enemy sighted.
Enemy Titan deployed.
Tiny torsos OP.
Dude, that ability is very powerful, especially on this mode. They're like, I'm being probed from this weird musical circle. Look at this guy.
Spot ahead. Rush the bully.
You are suppressed. You are dead.
Rival here. Pilot located!
Oh god, I couldn't move.
Lighting target. I have no equal.
Got him.
Wolf probe active.
Good game.
Up next, I have the disarm ability, which I think is again one of the strongest tactician abilities in the game, particularly for team fights. So at higher levels, you do again have to really factor in the weapon type of the enemy that you're going to be hitting. Like you definitely want to prioritize enemies that have long reloads rather than quick reloads, or the penalty is largely moot, like in terms of 150% longer reload. But so things you're going to want to look for, like scourges, you can hit Zeus snipers, anything that's got like 3 seconds or longer tends to be really punishing to have to deal with when you get blacked out. So this ability or this payload, I also run the Shocktrains, which are again a really good weapon for attrition, which is where tacticians tend to shine. The slower the pace of the game, the better for tacticians, because A, it gives you more time to get your cooldowns resetting on all of your abilities, and B, all of the weapon types for tacticians tend to be centered around this sort of like whittling down the enemy style rather than big burst damage. So the shock trains give you the ability to whittle down multiple enemies and also to prevent shield regeneration even behind cover if you can snag another enemy near them. So yeah, the shock trains are great for that. Fuel burn is also I think largely a tactician supply gear, even though it is also classified as flanker. This would be just considered your slow. It's really good when you see an enemy overextend themselves. You hit them with this, and it allows your team to pile on them because they can't use their fuel to jet away in time before just taking an absolute hammering. I pair the Iron Veil just as an emergency sort of defense if anyone ever does get the drop on me, because I am running tier legs here, which are not very fast in max speed. They do have good fuel, but I pop the Iron Veil, and I also have the other option of using my ability as defensively as well. If somebody tries to rush me, I can disarm their weapon and back up and try to pull them into my teammates just so that we can all pile on them. Pilot in this case would be Willow Flynn. I'm running just for special weapon damage. The Synergist perk is huge for pretty much every tactician. I think having 20% getting knocked down off of your gear is huge, and the shock trains are getting a lot of assists. Granted, Disarm has a pretty short cooldown as is, but even still, like normally you'd want to use Synergist or save your Synergist pilots for the abilities that have very long cooldowns. But I have enough now that I can afford to use it here too. So you're just like, if your team is getting a lot of assists, a lot of times I've had this happen where I fire a disarm at the start of the team fight and I'm getting a bunch of assists, and then by the time the team fight's just about over, I can disarm again on like the last 1 or 2 people that are left in order to either protect a teammate and secure that kill without losing the person we otherwise would have, or I can even reserve it for like the enemy reinforcements that are coming in after the initial kills, so I can save it for them and disarm again. So that's why I run that pilot. And then faster reload is good on shock trains. And then always, like, because tacticians run so many support gears usually, and because our armor pool is so low, the field repairs perk is another really standout tier 5 perk for tacticians. So the quad shock trains with disarm, you're playing a little bit closer to the front line than you would be with snipers. Not too much more, as you do want to maintain the ability to run away. Here I'm just going for really heavy disable, so I have fuel burn. And disarm you really want to be using as frequently as possible, not wastefully, but definitely being close enough to the action that you're popping it off near its cooldown, and really keeping multiple enemies from being able to fight in the middle of battles. I would say disarm is one of the better team fight disables, but not so good for like ganking alone. It's kind of the fact that they maintain their mobility means they can chase you, so if you're not able to burst them down quickly, then obviously you're not going to get that much out of the weapons being off for the first little bit there, because the shock trains are not going to be enough DPS to kill people before the disarm is over. That said, it's just really good at perpetually keeping the pressure off of your teammates and slowly tilting the team fight turtling into your teammates' favor, as the amount of outgoing fire is heavily noticeable. Shock trains will help you snipe out enemies that are very critical as well, so keep your eyes out for that. You will find that the shock trains can get the last hit on a lot of kills. Pairing with the fuel burn is also your escape, by the way. So if people, or if you do get ganked, you can both fuel burn and turn off their weapons. Usually I'll do the weapons first, and then I'll use the fuel burn if I have to finish getting away, because that way I don't use up my consumables unless I needed them. You don't want to start with the consumable version, obviously. DPS here on fragile mechs like flankers is still noticeable enough to finish them off here. Here you can see taking away their fuel and line up that last hit is super clutch. And don't forget the range of the Shocktrains is basically snipers. It's like 500 and something, I believe. But yeah, you can hit from extremely far distance away. And then Iron Veil is another form of escape here too. So if I ever do get caught out of position, I can mitigate the damage heavily there and prevent it from getting to my armor too much. It's not leveled up, by the way, when I'm using it on this mech. Don't forget the Shocktrain's arc. So again, this build is much more centered around like multiple mech team fights, where it's like 3v3 rather than doing single fights. The Shocktrains really do shine when they're getting damage on multiple mechs. Otherwise, you're missing out on a lot of the potential of them.
Power up available.
That's the spot. Incoming missiles.
A cold snap ready. Oh, the fucking meteor caught my leg.
Move here. Incoming missiles. Fatality.
Power up available.
Over here.
He was going after that spider bot.
Enemy disarmed.
Hopping down.
Engaging.
The enemy controls the power up.
Got snots all over him. Oh, he's dead. I hit him again. He's dead. He's taking toxic damage. I got Sora on here.
Here's one. Take him out. Incoming missiles.
Power up available. Your team controls the power up.
I'm hitting that guy up top with a missile. Yeah, they did. Yeah, he did. He did. Here, threw a sentry on him. Heals for us.
Intake confirmed.
Going up. I got 8 shots for my snots.
Power up available.
Take him out.
The enemy controls the power up.
Oh, come on. Fuck.
Enemy target deploys.
Heavy snipes coming in.
Power up available.
Moving over with you guys. Titan over there.
Engaging. Defenses.
The enemy controls the power up.
The next archetype will be snipers. So here I want, these new Apollos are extremely powerful, which you'll see in some clips, but I think this pilot also runs the support healing ability. I haven't unlocked it yet, but The main thing with this one is I am getting kills, so I am looking to get Parasite Protocol, and that's going to help me boost my heal, both in the radius as well as the duration, so the amount of heal it can give. The Orochi legs are good for a sniper because I do need to be quite mobile getting around the map more, and especially because I sometimes might need to reposition in a bit more dangerous area in order to get the hits on the enemies that are behind cover, and I want to be able to rapidly run back to my teammates when the enemy starts maneuvering to gank me, basically. Yeah, this one's pretty self-explanatory. You're so far back, so you want to have an ability that you can use at extreme range in order to assist your teammates. And heals are always good, obviously. So plus, when I use my heal, I heal myself once my pilot perk is unlocked. So that's another double synergy with that pilot perk in the gear. So this clip is pretty late in the match. I've actually been harassing him with the sniper build for quite a while, and you can tell because I get really annoyed with the flashbangs that start dumping on me. But your main job with the sniper is to cooperate with your teammates' supporting weapons. So like if they're good at knocking down shields, you want to focus on getting armor damage after they land their hit. If they're good at doing armor damage, like this acid shotgun, then you want to bleed off the shields for them. And then your main job is just to snipe out those ones that are really critical and in the back line. Trying to get away from the fight because you don't need to go so deep in order to target them. Main thing with snipers and then like a lot of tactician weapons though is just making sure you're getting enough bang for your buck and enough active participation, as again these weapons don't have the same DPS as flankers and whatnot and assaults, so you really need to be making sure you're not having too much downtime and that you are constantly putting in work somewhere and really working your shield regeneration, because otherwise you'll just not participate enough and the enemy team will win just from their active participation. So yeah, just stay active, don't sit in the back, don't spend too much time traveling. You want to be picking a position that you think you can hold and you can start putting in work where it's a real big thorn in the enemy's side. I run the heal here so I can snipe heals onto teammates that are getting low on health if I need to, and other than that, snipers are pretty self-explanatory builds. I feel like nobody really needs too many pointers on this. I don't have the ricochet perk right now, so I'm not getting that flat I think it works out to like 15% damage if it's a damage over time weapon as an average. It's too bad it's not a single hit. Like trebuchets would be better because when it does roll the ricochet, it rolls it entirely on that weapon's damage. So here it's more normalized. It'll just give you a flat sort of buff to your damage.
Enemy Titan deployed.
Take the Titan!
Downrange. Destroy the Titan. Repair drone deployed.
Titan spotted.
Enemy Titan deployed. Power up available.
Open fire!
Destroy the Titan. Destroy the Titan.
Eliminate them!
Repair drone deployed. Incoming missiles.
Missile builds are going to be playing in the midline position of the team, so behind the front line that's holding stable, hopefully. Now, missiles don't have a great DPS overall, but they're really good for burst DPS when they do land, and they're also really good because of their interesting angles. They force enemies, even if they're at pretty decent range, they're taking full amounts of damage. It's very hard to jet out of these with fuel usage. The only real way to shut down a missile salvo is to press up against cover. For that reason, I ended up really wanting to pair a Noricum with this double MLX setup. So this is how I ended up on the Siren legs. I have to run the gauntlet here in terms of taking absolute lightweight in order, and these are the only legs that'll have enough energy to sponsor this weapon payload with this weight level. The Iron Veil gives me 1 extra weight, but it's nice to have this as a defensive option. If somebody does gank me, I can activate this and use it as a chance to jet away in combination with the invisibility of the Pursuer torso. Despite it being a flanker, it is the only torso that gives me a top mount on the torso that can run a light weapon while still giving me an escape and is low enough weight to pair with 2 MLXs, which are really pushing the limits of what we can fit in conjunction. But yeah, the Noricum works really well because it prevents enemies from being able to push up against cover. So if you're getting lock-ons of people and then they end up running behind a piece of cover, keep shooting at the cover and it'll splash behind it as long as it isn't too thick, and catching them so they can't get their shields back and they're taking chip damage. You basically force them into the open, which also lets you get your missile locks again. So I ended up not needing any sort of recon or echo barrage to see through walls when I have this, which is nice because it means I don't have to get so close either. Pilot wise, I'm running Sarah Ali for the gear goes off cooldown. That's relatively not a major issue. The main thing I wanted to do is improve the damage of my missile salvos. So rocket launchers here, Air Warrior here, so you can jump up into the air right before your missiles land. Basically as you're firing them, that way you're still in the air when the missiles hit. Activating your Iron Veil will trigger quick reflexes, which means that if I do get hit, I block a lot of the damage and I get my shields to regenerate back really quickly as long as I am not continually taking hits, which I shouldn't be with the invisibility. Bloodlust doesn't do anything major for us, but if you do get within 200 meters of an enemy, then you can speed up the rate of your salvo. I did try to get perks that benefit all weapon types rather than one type, as I am running a split here between rocket launchers and artillery. However, they are both blast, so if you want to pick a different pilot that benefits with blast damage, go for it. I would recommend against the one where if you get the kill, it does more damage, because you're not usually getting the kill with this build. You're usually just assists and pressure and forcing people into not getting their shields back over time. So missiles do suffer from the fact that they don't have a lot of DPS up in over time, but they're really good at just causing complications for the enemy and getting their shields back. And so if the front line's very stable and you're stuck in a turtle war where you're both trying to push or trying not to push and get the other one to push you, you can chip them away with this. And the weapon combination is really powerful, especially against Titans that are slower, like the Matriarch. You can hit them from long range. So this is one of the mechs that does work later game out of the Tacticians compared to others. You could also look at running Synergist too. Again, I don't think I'll be needing too many invisibilities with this build. It's more just map awareness, and you only use this as an emergency when you've not been paying attention. Same goes here for this tactician style. You don't have the burst, or sorry, like the sustained DPS, so you really need to take advantage of positioning in the map, somewhere where you're a really big thorn, and constantly chipping in armor damage when your teammates knock down the shields. Here a bot actually snipes a snap phase, which allows me to get a second salvo, which is pretty huge. And I think they also knock down the shields. So you really want to make sure you're getting active participation with missile builds and looking for targets that you're really good at knocking down other fragile builds, but if you can catch tankier builds like overextending, then you're going to get a lot of value out of that, because you'll just be doing steady armor damage. They're never going to be getting their shields back, and you don't have any trouble getting the lock on and then getting your shields back before they start to regenerate, so you can keep the pressure up. Especially with the Noricums. Certain maps, though, really make artillery and missiles annoying, like this one with the ceiling. It's very difficult to find a position that gives you enough pressure that isn't just easily avoided. Another thing I should probably mention, too, I don't have it here, but one of the best uses of Holofield is blocking turrets. So I don't have Holofield on a ton of these tactician builds, but I do run it often. I just substitute it in, and I just use it to shut down turrets, especially with the meta right now. So here I kind of realized that I'm not going to be much help in the middle, so my job is going to be just pressuring these snipers. That is a great annoyance for them. Fighting artillery and missiles is really annoying for snipers, so I'm just going to use the fact that I'm able to bully them behind all these pieces of cover with artillery, and then the missiles are also just really punishing their usually weaker shields. Even the heavier snipers tend to run Orochis, but it's just not that common that they can avoid taking some armor damage and just slowly whittling them down, punishing them for the slow turtle playstyle, as snipers are like the quintessential turtling resource. I tried not to use my invisibility offensively, but here it's nice to be able to get into position to just get that extra salvo off safely without them targeting me, because there was 2 people there. It allows me to get a huge amount of armor damage in. So if it's safe to do so, like if I've got like a lot of support with teammates holding the front line, then I can make that risk in order just to get into position and get that second salvo locked on and fired out. Again, I'm not running leveled up MLXs right now. It's going to be really fun when I can level these up in the next deal tomorrow. So because missiles are all about just getting that huge amount of damage on the salvo, because you're not often getting a second salvo on people where you land it. So you really got to squeeze as much as you can out of that salvo. That's why I'm jumping in the air a lot, trying to get that that jump damage bonus. And yeah, basically that explains how this works. Oh, another little cool trick that I should mention too is the Norcoms reload first, and so if you can fire the Norcoms and delay firing the missiles so they don't get the missile lock on until after the Norcoms hit them, and then they'll often jump out of cover right as you fire the missiles, because they expect another Norcom salvo. So don't fire it as soon as the missile's ready. Every time you can play around with purposefully delaying the timing, and fire the missile once the Norcom has basically hit them, and then they jump out of cover, and then they have to burn their fuel again to get back behind cover as the missiles are coming in. So purposefully delaying it so they don't so that the missile lock doesn't prompt on their screen before the Norcoms have hit them is kind of sneaky.
Eyes on. Light 'em up.
Power up available. Your team controls the power up.
Buddy, who are you talking to?
Eyes peeled.
Hostile. Here. Eliminate them.
They need help.
Power up available. Enemy Titan deployed. Your team controls the power up.
Fire!
Trouble ahead.
Enemy position!
Dusted.
Enemy Titan deployed.
One of my probably my strongest late game support tactician, although this one's good at any point in the game if you can keep it alive. You can run this as a 5 Orcan build if you give up all the gear, but I figure that with infinite ammo, I can pick my moment that I want to do a mass amount of damage that's even greater than 5 Orcans. And the other thing is, now that tankier mechs are more common, even 5 Orcans won't cut it a lot of the time anymore. So this really is the only way to make a build that can basically kill an enemy by themselves, but using your tactician ability here to take out a particularly annoying enemy rather than just the easiest enemy to kill, as long as you cooperate with a teammate, is more valuable. I can also afford to have the ghost turret, which is a great way to push people out of cover, setting up the tactician's snap free or cold snap ability, and the rest is pretty self-explanatory. I'm sure you've seen Orcan builds. The main advantage of this build is taking down Titans, because you can hold them still as long as the teammate's with you, and you can work together to burst them down, because you'll do a huge amount of the armor work while you dump infinite ammo Orcans on them. Or even if not, you just, with 4 Orcans, you're just going to do a lot of damage, and it's going to allow your teammate to just do the remaining amount of damage necessary. But I did throw the ghost turret on as well in case it's a pretty tanky enemy and I want to contribute even more damage as possible. So we're getting a bonus to rocket damage. Taking less damage here is the most valuable perk here, just because we are quite fragile and we have to be alive long enough to dump the Orcan's magazine. Again, another build that really benefits from Synergist is Cold Freeze. Activating any defensive gear reduces shield cooldown. So this one I don't really get much out of as, well, really anything. But the thing is, this build, there's not a lot of rocket builds that have Synergist. So I ended up going with this one or giving up this perk slot just so that I can have Well-Timed, which is a bit of a trickier perk to work because you won't have time to activate it if you are running and chasing down an enemy to get Snap Freeze. But you can set ambushes where you wait behind cover. As soon as they go past and come into your line of sight, hit them with Well-Timed, hit them with the Snap Freeze while your Well-Timed is active, and that'll give you a huge damage lift. So basically that perk is just for helping you out when you can set up ambushes, and can take a position and hold still for a little bit before you get the drop on them. So the Cold Freeze is really going to require a lot of communication with your team. You really want them to be in position, confirmed, and ready to shoot. So you don't want to just like reflexively fire it, as it's got a pretty long cooldown. But yeah, your main job here is just to set them up to finish off the kill, and then you don't usually want it because you're running Synergist with this build. You want to get the assist so that your Snap Freeze is ready again sooner. The only time I typically want the kills is when I'm using my infinite ammo. That's where I'm just going ham. But yeah, the maximizing the amount of usages you get out of Snap Freeze throughout the I keep saying Snap Freeze from another game, Cold Freeze, is going to be crucial. Your main job is to look for enemies that have overextended and Snap Freeze them, but you can also knock down snipers at long range if they're holding still, especially if they're targeting somebody else. Just a tip for that: make sure you start shooting the Orcans before you fire the Cold Freeze, so that the missiles start hitting in rate as the Cold Freeze is there, so that you can follow up with the second salvo in time. Otherwise, they'll have time to move before the second salvo reaches them because of the projectile speed of the Orcans. Yeah, once you've charged up infinite ammo, you are a menace. You can just literally bully other mechs up like close range, and it's a shocking amount of damage. Granted, you are fragile, so you still want to be with teammates, but the amount of damage you can put out with 4 Orcans with infinite ammo is quite absurd. Yeah, smoke field would have been really good here just to shut down all these turrets, but alas, not running it on this build. I run attack turret just to help flush out enemies and contribute some more damage when I'm waiting to set up the freeze. I don't want to be completely useless. But yeah, here we got an enemy overextending, so Cold Freeze is really good at knocking down high skill players because they rely on their mobility in order to skill punish, like just to flex their skill and express their ability to maneuver, but this completely shuts that down. Be careful about using it too quickly though. It's very like the auto aim seems a little weird with Cold Freeze. I find it very unreliable, and it's almost like it's overestimating the amount of lead time that's needed. So I tend to target people where I can free aim it and they're not moving very quickly at all, or I just know that they're about to change position and hold still, and then I fire the Cold Freeze usually around there if I can. No, that's not to say you can't hit moving targets. It's just they are going to maintain their momentum anyways, so it's better if you can catch somebody in the middle of a turn or somebody who's not moving at all, so that you can ensure that they're completely vulnerable. I like to give my teammates like a few seconds heads up and call out the one that I think can help me. I'd be like, hey, player one, I'm about to Cold Freeze above you, get ready. And or are you ready? And then if he says yes, then I know, okay, and Cold Freeze, and then go for it. Otherwise, because seconds matter with the Cold Freeze, it's only I think it's like 5 seconds. So like even a 2-second delay is a massive drop off in damage that you otherwise would have been able to secure if you just communicated more readily. You play definitely closer with this build style, and also look for opportunities to hit like targets that have had their shields knocked down, so that you can secure assists. If you get lucky, your teammates will finish it off. And then you can, every now and then you'll just get a random assist that you wouldn't have otherwise hit, and can use that to get another Cold Freeze. Oh, guarding power-ups is another great example of an opportunity where people tend to overextend. And also, Titans are another really good one. If you can catch a Titan, because Titans tend to be quite aggressive, if you can find opportunities to, you can really set up easy Titan kills for your team if they're in position. You don't see this every day. Killing with the snap freeze. Yeah, so look for opportunities to freeze weakened targets.
Pilot eliminated. Rival here.
Power up available.
Incoming missiles.
Enemy acquired.
Power up available.
Take them. Get going.
The enemy controls the power up.
This probably goes without saying, but the spider legs are one of the best things for Cold Freeze to take advantage of because they're so dependent on their mobility in order to maximize their efficiency. So hitting them with Cold Freeze, I just got that weird bug where when you fire it, fires but then doesn't shoot, and then doesn't activate the cooldown either. Here we got an overextended enemy, so again, just dumping in with the Orkans, you can really see how this build can, even against a tanky double incinerator or triple incinerator, but I didn't see what that was, but even like tankier mechs, the Orkans really put out a huge amount of damage. Here I am running the 5 Orkan variant. I don't like this one as much anymore. I really think that the infinite ammo is just better with 4, because when you need that damage, 5 ain't gonna cut it anyways against tanky mechs, so I tend to just prefer the infinite ammo. It's also better against Titans because you have a higher damage threshold that you can put out with 4 with infinite ammo than you can with 5. Double damage is also pretty juicy, by the way, with the 4 Orkan build. You are a monster with the amount of damage you can put out here.
Take him out.
Provide help. Eliminate them. Offline.
Power up available.
Fuel burnout. Take him out.
Lighting target.
Titan is done.
Finally, we have the Alpha Titan, the Tactician Titan, which is, again, very dependent on its abilities. They did come out with a new weapon which rewards the shield play style of Tacticians a lot better. I would suggest maxing this out and getting it. You can really take advantage of it by barely peeking out of cover and just shooting your rifle, then going back behind. The problem with the Callisto is that you just have to sit there dumping the magazine for way too long. Granted, they do have really good range, both of them, but yeah, this is much more of an assault style weapon, which I think the developers probably didn't realize until after, and then they swapped it in for a true tactician's weapon that can help you reward shield play. I haven't maxed it out though, as if there's just too much going on. Anyways, you've got Firestorm, which got a nerf recently. You really do want to pair this with other tactician disables like slow fuel, like the fuel burn, snares of Grims, snap freeze, etc. Or if you see a bunch of enemies that have dumped their fuel in order to get behind cover after taking a big hit, that might be a good opportunity to set this up. Just keep in mind, try to let the enemy burn off their momentum before you activate it. Like if they jetted for fuel and they've got all that momentum and you activate it too early, they're just going to jet again or keep running and keep the momentum. So you really want to catch them when they hit the wall, or there's a bunch of enemies all body blocking each other, or there's like some valuable ability that they're trying to sit on, like the Matriarch Heal is a great way to push people off of that. Magnetic Sensor, again, is just basically a location spotter spell. It's really good to use this to set up your missiles and your Firestorm. I typically do the missiles first, get them to jet themselves behind cover, and then activate the Firestorm right after that, where they burn their fuel, and I either catch them with it or they completely dump their fuel to get back out of cover and are vulnerable for my team to start chipping them, as well as myself with my sniper ranged weapons. Again, you are going to always want to stick with teammates, as Alpha Titans are vulnerable to flankers. They just don't have a great time up close, and they are going to be dependent on your teammates giving you a firing line to stay behind and holding that line stable for you, and really allowing you to dump your abilities on cooldown frequently. That's not to say rush to use it, but you do want to get your abilities on cooldown frequently, as that means you're getting use out of them. Every second that your abilities are not on cooldown is costing your team and yourself, so you do need to be looking greedily for opportunities to get them used, and without being wasteful. So the Alpha Titan is really going to center around your use of the Firestorm ability, the ultimate, and I think that just mastering the Alpha Titan is really just learning about when to use it and when not to, and just to save it. So it's really good at shutting down Matriarch's Heal, because as soon as they pop it, you throw down the Firestorm. You can use it if enemies have burnt out their momentum, so not just their fuel but their momentum as well. Like if they fuel into a wall, that's the time to kind of pop the Firestorm. Or if you have teammates setting it up with fuel burn, or other tacticians, or the Grim, or like flankers with any sort of disabling movement abilities, those are the times that you want to use Firestorm. Or if you have a bunch of enemies grouped up and they can tend to body block each other if the people in the back respond slower than the ones in the middle of the radius. So other than that, just really maximize your weapon's range usage, take advantage of it despite the slow projectile speed on this weapon, and make sure you're keeping behind your teammates. You need to have that separation. Even though you are a Titan, you are still a tactician, and you can be just dog walked by flankers. Even if they close the gap on you by surprise, they can really take out the Alpha Titan quite quickly, especially if you don't have your abilities to help defend you for a little bit. So stick near teammates, stay in the middle of the formation. Don't push to the front lines, and don't chase down either, even if it feels like you can secure the kill. It's often just not worth it because you don't have enough fuel and mobility to really get out of there a lot of the time against higher tier players. Your job is in the back, really maximizing the amount of abilities you can put out as the measure of a tactician. How many times can you use your abilities before you die is really what is the make or break for tacticians. Using the scan is also a bit of a dead giveaway. Oh, this is really nice, actually, this play here. So I pop the Firestorm and the missiles and really mess up everybody over there and fracture their formation. They end up getting cut off from their allies in the back. This guy comes and rotates back over to try to kill me, but I've got my abilities back because I grabbed that recycle. So recycle is obviously really good on tacticians, or rearm, whatever it's called. So because he used up his fuel to get over here, I know he wasn't going to be able to move fast, so I ended up body blocking him in a little bit there and just finishing him off with the cannon. But yeah, so I'm out of position right now. I'm not even going to risk going for the missile. I know it would be death if I go for that, so I'm going back to my teammates to get back into formation here. Okay, so thanks for watching. That's all the time I have in this video. Is I cap out at 1 hour for the Share Factory movie productions. So I'll see you next time. I think I'm either going to do I think I'm doing Assault next, if you're curious.